which is so beautiful. Now listen closely, this one's a little subtler. She said he wouldn't have written this boring chord with only 3 notes, but he adds 1 extra note. Can you hear the difference? Ordinary Mozart. So instead of this, he writes, which is so beautiful. And then not this, but this. And at that moment, I realized 2 important things. First, I realized that the difference between good and great, not just in music, but everywhere, the difference between good and great is both enormous and infinitesimal. It's hundreds of inspired choices made by a composer, a CEO, a company, a teacher, a parent, or a spouse, measure by measure, project by project, and decision by decision. And I also realized there's an enormous difference between listening and hearing. Though I'd been hearing this music go by for months, I had never really listened to it. Real listening required to pay attention to what I was hearing in a completely new way. And the more I studied with Boulanger, the more I realized that what all these great composers had in common was great listening. And in particular, a kind of listening that I want to talk with you about today that I'm going to call listening for possibility. You know, we tend to think of creativity as a kind of an inner game, as if in order to come up with a new idea, a new product, a new innovation, we have to shut out the outside world, turn inward, and create out of the deepest recesses of our innermost imaginations. But Stravinsky says it's really just the opposite. He says creativity, ideas don't begin in here with thinking. They begin out there with observation, with noticing what's right in front of your nose. I'm sure you all know some of the famous business stories. Swiss engineer Gerard de Mistral goes hiking in the woods, comes back with burrs stuck to his pant leg and his dog's fur, thinks about why did they stick so tightly? To use my phrase, listens for possibility, and comes up with the invention of what? Velcro, exactly. Track coach Jim Bowerman has waffles for breakfast. Thinks deeply about the shape and the texture of the waffle. Use my phrase, listens for possibility, and he comes up with the very first waffle-soled athletic shoe for Nike. Extraordinary invention and innovation can come from simply looking and listening to what's right in front of our nose in radically new ways. And today I want to take you deeply inside the mind and music of Mozart to see what it can teach us about the difference between good and great, creativity, innovation, and listening for possibility. Now, how many of you have heard Mozart's Eine kleine Nacht music or A Little Night music before? Show of hands. Okay, good. How many of you have raised your hands feel morally superior to the people who didn't raise their hands? That's the whole point of classical music. All right, good. Now, to get us started, I want to have our brilliant quintet just play the first 15 or 20 seconds of this piece. For the last time this afternoon, I want you to sit back and relax and enjoy yourself. Then we're going to go back and we're going to take this opening apart to within an inch of its life to see if we can learn to listen like Mozart. So here's the opening of Eine kleine Nacht music. Sound terrific, yes? All right, now one of the amazing things about Mozart is the pace of invention, the speed of the musical thought. You know, I was reading recently an interview with an Intel executive, and he was saying that the exact same moment that the marketing team is releasing that 5th generation chip to the public downstairs, the research team upstairs has already completed work on the 6th and the 7th generation chip that's going to make the one that they're releasing downstairs completely obsolete. Now, the pace of innovation in the business world is extraordinarily quick, but it can't compare with the pace of invention in Mozart. So let's learn this famous opening together. So Mozart starts his piece, his company, his product, so to speak, with a single note. This is not brilliant. This is not the greatest beginning for a startup. A single note, which I'll call bum. I want you to sing, I'll do it, and you copy. Bum, go. Bum. That's what it says in the manuscript, B-U-M, bum. Okay, so we've got a product. Immediately Mozart starts to innovate by adding a lower note, and we turn it into a pair. So bum becomes bum, bum. I sing, you copy. Bum, bum, go. This is such a success that immediately they start to franchise the thing and put it in 3 cities. So now we've got our bum, bum. We do it 3 times. Bum, 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 sing. Okay, so we've got a note. We've got a pair. We've got 3 pairs. Now we're going to turn all this innovation into a product by putting it all together and giving it a rhythm. I do it, you copy. Bum, 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 go. Now that's an ordinary company. That's an ordinary university, not necessarily Montclair State. An ordinary company. But what makes it great, what makes a product great, what makes a company great is that special extra innovation, that special extra feature. Now sing one more time our ordinary, almost Mozart version. Ready, go. Now raise your hand when you hear the extra innovation at the end. Aha! Sing that version. And raised eyebrows at the end are recommended. Here we go. Ready, sing. Okay, now the minute you've got a melody, you've also got a rhythm. I want you to clap the rhythm that you just sang, but don't sing it. So sing it only in your head, but clap the rhythm. Ready, go. And once you've got a rhythm, you can use that same rhythm for the second half of the idea, but with different notes. I'm going to play the second half of the idea. You clap the rhythm as soon as I finish. Clap. So, same rhythm, different notes. And the 2 ideas connect through their shared rhythm. Like 2 lines of shared rhyming poetry, like 2 divisions of a company that connect through their shared infrastructure or shared corporate values. Okay, so now we've got a great idea. You've got a great product. You've got a clear corporate identity. On-demand taxi service, Uber. You've got a clear product, you want to get it across to the public, and you want to make sure that it's clear and they recognize it with no extra information. Mozart could easily have put his melody over here and then put some pointless distracting chords over here, information that confuses the marketing message. He didn't, but I did. So Mozart's melody is going to be over here, and here are some pointless little distracting chords that I added over here, like this. I told them to look pointless and distracting and cheery, and I thought they did an excellent job. But now I want you to focus your attention on that idea right away from the opening note. Instead of that, he has all the instruments play the melody in unison so there can be no distraction. This is the entire company on message, speaking in one, in unison. So not... Here's Mozart's version, focus. That's what focus sounds like. Now, I'm going to spend, believe it or not, about 15 minutes on the next 6 seconds of music. Not just because it is such a fantastic example of the difference between good and great, but also because it is a masterclass on the art of listening. How many of you have read Malcolm Gladwell's first book, The Tipping Point? Any of you have read that book? Okay. Oh, how many people here in the business school? Oh, okay. You definitely have to read that book. Anyway, it has a wonderful subtitle, and the subtitle of the book is How Little Things Make a Big Difference. And this is a seminar in how little things make a big difference. So we're going to start by looking behind the scenes. We're not going to look at the melody, the CEO. We're going to look at the accompaniment, the support staff. Now, like so many Mozart pieces, this one has a kind of a steady beat that you could tap your foot to. It goes about this speed. Dum, bum, 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 bum. To give you a feel for that, I want you to count from 1 to 8 and say stop in the tempo of the piece. I'll do it first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop. Here we go. Ready, go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop.
Now, I want you to count. Boulanger always used to say, if you can't count from 1 to 4 like it's the most exciting thing in the world, you will never have an exciting life. Okay? So I want you to count from 1 to 8 like this is the most exciting narrative you've ever participated in. Here we go. Ready, go.
1, 2,
I can't believe it.
4,
How exciting.
6,
What's happening
8,
next? Stop. Okay, great. Now I want you to clap along you're doing that 1 per beat like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop. Here we go. Ready, go. Now, I want you to clap, so not like you're in your own universe, but you're listening to the entire room, and you're going to make sure that everyone is together because everybody is listening to everybody else. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Great, okay, now, support staff. Mozart could easily have had the support staff over here just playing one note per beat. I mean, this is a really boring support staff, does their work really, really slowly. Now, what I want you to get is, in none of these examples am I going to change any notes of Mozart. These are all Mozart's notes. All I'm going to do is changing the rhythm. So this is Mozart's melody with a boring 1 per beat, 1, 2, 3, 4 accompaniment. And listen to how awful this boring support staff makes the whole company sound like. Unfortunately, I told them to play as badly as they possibly could, but I think that's as low as it gets. I was hoping for a kind of beer hall polka-like sound, but I think that was pretty. Let's do that one more time, a little worse, please. Here we go. 3, ugly, body English, yeah. Fantastic. Okay, now, so you're the executive. You come into this company, you're the new CEO, and you're just horrified by the support staff. They're doing their work unbelievably slow. It's incredibly plodding, and you decide, I'm going to innovate. And so you decide you're going to enroll the entire company in a health and fitness plan. And so suddenly all of the support staff starts running, they lose weight, and suddenly they can actually do 2 per beat and not 1 per beat. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, now they're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So instead of this, they're going to do this. We're not changing a single note. So now I want you to count from 1 to 8 and say stop again. But now instead of 1 per beat, 1, 2, I want you to do 2 per beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 to 8 and stop, 2 per beat. Here we go. Ready, go. Good. Now imagine, oh, this is so Mozartian and Elio, just very, very elegant. Here we go. No thudding, no thudding. Here we go. Ready, light. Now, listen to how different this sounds. I have not changed a single note. The only difference is instead of the support staff going, they're going. And listen to how incredibly different this sounds. The difference between good and great is both enormous and infinitesimal. Here we go. Here's the beat, 2 per beat. Sounds better, right? Okay, now, if you aren't listening closely, you might think that was Mozart's version. In fact, that sounds pretty close to Mozart's version, but if it was, we wouldn't be talking about Mozart today. You know, I was really fortunate to spend about 6 months working with Michael Eisner when he was the CEO of Disney on a project. And one of the things he always used to say at meetings, he used to say, good companies meet customer expectations. And by the way, this is not only about companies, but he said, good companies meet customer expectations, great companies exceed consumer expectations. What you just heard perfectly met customer expectations. But what can we do to exceed the expectations? Now, we've heard them go 1 per beat. We've heard them go 2 per beat. Let's say that the company's health and fitness program is an enormous success, and a couple superstar runners become world-class sprinters. And they can not only do 1 per beat or 2 per beat, but they can do 4 per beat. But since that hurts my arms, we're going to do it like this. So on your lap, count from 1 to 8, do stop, 1, 2, 4 per beat. Here we go. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, stop. And you just learned a valuable lesson about orchestra playing. If you finish together, no one knows what happened in the middle. If your product is a success, everyone forgets about the mess during the development phase. All right, now, what makes Mozart's version so fantastic, and listen closely, is the melody's over here. Most of them are playing 2 per beat. One person in the group, by the way, first violin, second violin, viola, cello, double bass. One person is playing 4 per beat. And that's what makes the entire thing sparkle. That's the difference between good and great, and I want you to tell me who it is. Okay? So the melody's over here. Most of them are playing 2 per beat. One person is playing 4 per beat, and that's the star of the show. Let's see if you can hear it. I'll clap just the basic beat, and you tell me. Here we go. Was it the viola? Was it the cello? Double bass?
Second violin?
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. No other audience has ever gotten it right. I know you think I tell that to all the girls, but it's really not true. No one has ever gotten it. Stand up and take a bow. This is a big moment. This is what she gave up her youth for and what her parents are spending a fortune on. Okay, so let's do this one more time so you don't miss it. So everybody else is doing ba 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 ba. She's going, and that's what makes the whole thing fantastic. The difference between good and great is you. Okay, no pressure. Here we go. Go! Take a bow, yes. But balance is everything. If everybody played 4 per beat like this, it would sound grotesque, like your company was part of an SEC investigation and an IRS tax audit at the same time. Here's what it sounds like with everybody playing 4 per beat. Don't try that one at home. All right, good. All right, so now that's what makes the support staff sound great. That's what makes the accompaniment sound great. Now let's look at the melody. Now let's look at the CEO. And let's start with a not-so-great leader, a not-so-great CEO, who has an annoying habit of repeating himself on every downbeat. Over and over again. Every downbeat is 2 repeated notes. Now, I'm barely changing Mozart. This is really, really close. But here's a not great CEO with an annoying habit. Every downbeat, like this. Now, I told her to make it as ugly as possible and to frown in whatever way she thought was ugly. You can't see the frown, but could you do it one more time and face them so they can see the frown and really get the full effect of this on every downbeat? One more time. Excellent. We accept all bad notes. That's actually no. Okay, absolutely. I mean, so this clearly isn't working. So the board of directors, of course, sends her off to a management training seminar. And they tell her, you just got to stop repeating yourself like this. You've got to vary your approach. So she decides to take, instead of that second repeat, what if I decorated it with the note above it, a little leaning note, which we call an appoggiatura. Just say appoggiatura. This is a fantastic word for cocktail parties. You know, the way they play the appoggiaturas was so exquisite. So appoggiatura is very useful for those kind of cocktail parties. It has to be the right kind of cocktail party. Okay, so now, what I want you to do is listen really closely because this is an exercise in how quickly innovation fades. So we're going to start off with our repeat. And instead of repeat for the second one, we're going to vary it with our appoggiatura. Now, the first one will sound fantastic. This is a great invention, and we love it. But how quickly it fades. We're then going to have a second and a third one. The first appoggiatura will sound great. At least it's not repeat. But the second and the third one will become intolerable one by one. So listen very closely. You're going to hear repeat, then a lovely appoggiatura, then another one, and then another one. You can't just keep doing it. You have to innovate continuously. So here we go. Repeat, 3 appoggiaturas. First. Nice. Ugly. Okay, so this clearly doesn't work. Let's look at what we might do. Let's review for a second. We started off with repeat like this. Initially, we copied it with another repeat, which we made better as an appoggiatura. An even fancier innovation alternates the 2 notes quickly and turns it into a trill. Ooh, self-driving cars. Fantastic. Okay, so now, listen again closely. Now what we're going to do is replace each one with trills. Now again, we're going to start with our repeat. The first trill is going to sound fantastic. I mean, this is really like best thing since sliced bread. But the second and the third one, not that sliced bread is so great. Anyway, but the second and the third one will sound even more annoying than the appoggiatura sounded like. So here's repeat. First trill is great, and then the second and third more and more annoying like this. Nice. Annoying. Intolerable. All right, so now what Mozart does, though, having been to the management training seminar, of course, is varies his approach, and I want you to tell me what he does. So I'm going to hold up my fingers at the 3 places, and your 3 choices are, it either might be a repeat, or it might be an appoggiatura, or it might be a trill. And you tell me what Mozart does. I will tell you this, he starts off with repeat. And I'll hold up my fingers in the 3 places, and afterwards you tell me what he did. Oh, wait, so what did he do in the first one? What did he do in the second one? And the third one? Constantly varying it. Great. And there's still more fantastic stuff. By the way, remember, I'm just looking at like 4 seconds of music here. These 4 seconds could be any 4 seconds of Mozart. All right, there's still something else fantastic. Now, did anyone here ever at any point in their lives have a really boring job? It could have been a summer job. Okay, what was your job? You were a busboy? Okay, any other boring jobs? Anyone ever have a boring job? Data entry. Okay, what was yours? Cashier. Which do we think? We have to vote. Which is the worst one, the busboy or the data entry or the cashier? How many vote for busboy? How many vote for data entry? Oh, that's interesting. And how many vote for cashier? So data entry wins. Okay, now, for some reason, not necessarily that this is true, but in the classical period, violas have a reputation for having the data entry job, the most boring job possible. No offense here, but that's their reputation. And a really, really boring part here would absolutely fit perfectly. Now, I want you to raise your hand when you're bored by this viola part. And by bored, I mean a particular kind of boredom. What I mean is, you get the pattern he's playing, you hear that pattern start to repeat, and I want you to notice the exact moment where you're absolutely sure you know what's going to come next. There's nothing sadder in life than thinking you know what's going to come next, and that is actually what comes next. So I want you to raise your hand when you're bored because you've got the pattern, you hear it start to repeat, you're sure you know what's going to come next, and then feel how upset you are and disappointed when that, in fact, is what comes next. All right, here we go. I thought that was well acted, don't you? Very well done. But just at the point where you get bored with this, Mozart invents an innovation, something special. Raise your hand when you hear the innovation. It happens twice. You might miss it the first time, but you'll definitely catch it by the second time. You got it. Oh, you got it. Now, the amazing thing is those 5 surprising notes, these notes are played by the first violin higher, 1 beat later, and they make a nice little round. See if you can hear that round between these 2 instruments. So suddenly, not only have this boring viola part become interesting, but it's actually providing valuable information to the CEO and the C-suite over here. All of a sudden, the data entry clerk and the CEO are having lunch together in the executive dining room and playing duets on the weekend. All right, now, we're going to put this whole thing together, and I really want you to get this. This is a metaphor for the absolutely perfect company, for the perfect class, for the perfect project team, for the perfect family, for the perfect country. Because what you're going to hear is everybody is contributing to this whole, but they all have their own individual role. Now, I want you to be on the edge of your seat to really hear all that's happening. So let's review before we start. So what you're going to hear is the continuously innovating CEO over here, and what she's playing, repeat, then what? Trill, appoggiatura, trill. Okay, that's happening over here. You got to hear that. Over here, we've got our fitness-crazed second violin, and she's playing 4 notes per beat. We've got our violist over here contributing his 5 surprising notes to the CEO twice in the phrase, passing that off, and all of this is held together and grounded by the steady, sturdy, reliable, repeated notes of the cello and bass, the accounting department. All right, now let's see if you can hear all that happening. You have to be on your edge of your seat to hear this. Here we go. Got it? Do you need to hear that again? again one more time? Yes. I told them if you said no, we had failed. I'm so glad you said yes. Because there is an enormous amount to hear. The music sounds so simple, but there's so much going on. See if you can hear. We'll do it one more time for them. Great. Fantastic stuff, right? Okay. Now, the reason I've spent so much time on these 4 measures is not just that it's such a fantastic example of the difference between good and great, but it's also, as I said, a master class on the art of listening. I mean, the other thing is, if you hear this kind of writing here, you will find it absolutely everywhere in Mozart. Though the surface of the music might sound simple, if you listen closely like that, there's always something surprising and unexpected going on. You know, for example, nothing in Mozart is as simple as you think. In classical period music, for example, even-numbered units, 2, 4, and 8, are regular. And this is true in rhyming poetry as well. But even-numbered uses are regular units, but it's really often irregular units that make the music so special, that make rhyming poetry so special, and that make products and companies so special as well. Let's say, for example, that a lesser poet than Robert Frost had written his famous poem, Fire and Ice. It might have been all regular, predictable, 4-beat lines like a Hallmark card. It might have been something like this. Some say the world will end in fire, 4. Some say the world will end in ice, 4. From what I've tasted of desire, 4. I hold with those who favor fire, 4. I mean, you can feel the limerick-like quality. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Just like the viola part. Once you've heard that, you know the next is da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and sadly, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But what Frost writes is, some say the world will end in fire, 4. Some say in ice, 2. Which is already beautiful. Just say that. Ready, go. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. Now, once you've got 4 and 2, you've got possibilities. Now we've got a pattern, and we can work with it, or we can work against it. So one more time. Some say the world will end in fire, 4. Some say in ice. Next line. From what I've tasted of desire, 4, you are on the edge of your seat because what do you think is going to come next? 2. So from what I've tasted of desire, you expect, I favor fire. That would have been fine. From what I've tasted of desire, 4, I favor fire. But what he does is, from what I've tasted of desire, 4, I hold with those who favor fire, 4. So you've got 4, 2, 4, 4, but that last 4 is really a not 2. Got it? And then it continues to be continuously varied through that. But if it had to perish twice, 4, and you're sitting there thinking, what's going to come next? 2 or 4? 2 or 4? But if it had to perish twice, 4, I think I know enough of hate, 4. Okay, it's like the next one. What's next? But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction iced, wait a minute, it's going to be all 4s? What's happening here? What do we finish with? Is also great, 2, and would suffice. 2. Constantly varied every moment. Now, the same thing happens in Mozart. Our next phrase of Mozart starts with a 4-measure unit, and it starts to repeat, just like Robert Frost. But instead, after 3 measures, it's chopped off by a surprise accent, and that surprise accent is repeated once, not twice. So here's Mozart. 4 bars, starts to repeat, chopped off after 3 by a surprise accent. Surprise accent repeats once, not twice. Here we go. I'll count the bars for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. 1, 2, 3. Suddenly, accent. Accent. No accent. It's these wonderful irregularities that give Mozart's themes such life and make the difference in his operas between flat cardboard cutouts and living, breathing human beings. That make the difference between a good company and a great company, between meeting customer expectations and exceeding customer expectations. In the second theme of this piece, if I change just one rhythm and keep all of Mozart's notes, it loses all life and personality. Now, all I'm going to do is put an annoying ba-da-ba-da-ba at the beginning of the first and third measure. All the notes are Mozart's. All I've done is change the rhythm, and the entire product disappears. It's the ba-da-ba-da-ba in the first and third measures, how I've ruined Mozart. Here we go. Here it comes again. So my version started off with 5 even notes. La, 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 la. I want want you to sing that as boringly as you can, like you had that data entry job. Just like a la, 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 and give that look that I know students do so well. La, 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 la. Here we go. Ready, go. Now, all I'm going to do is change the rhythm. Instead of la, 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 I'm going to go la, and suddenly it will come to life. Ready, go. A little shake of the neck helps me. Like that. Here you go. Ready, go. Suddenly, instead of la, 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 Mozart's version goes like this. La, 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 la. And here, they come in early. A solo for the accounting department. Vice president takes over the company. No way. The amazing amounts of detail that Mozart can find in the slightest, most insignificant notes are truly amazing. There's only one other idea in this movement, and this is really not interesting. This is not great. This could be done by any composer. That's not great. It could be anything, but I want you to really look at this like a composer now, and we're going to listen for possibility. Okay, so here we have an idea made up of two fragments. I'll call it fragment 1 and fragment 2. Now, everything in life is a metaphor. This could be two companies looking to merge, but let's make it a little more personal for all of you. Let's say that this fragment 1 and fragment 2 are two people involved in a relationship looking to see if they have a future together. So let's look closely and see what they have in common and see what their future looks like. First, I'm going to play idea 1, fragment 1, and you tell me how many notes are in fragment 1. You can just count on your fingers. How many notes? 7. Okay, let's look at fragment 2, see if they have anything in common. How many notes? Okay, so this is a solid basis, okay? We've got 7 notes for each of us. Are there any other notes that are actually in common? I'll try not to give it away. Any notes in common? Okay, so we've also got not only 7 notes, but the last 2 notes in common. All right, so let's look at the relationship. Now let's look even a little closer at their personal profile on the web page. Okay, so the first one starts off, I'll play it in an octave that you can sing in, with a leap up. Just sing leap up, then a scale down, and then we finish with 2 notes. It's important to learn this technical vocabulary. D-da, go. So let's do the idea slowly once. I'll do it first. Leap up, scale down, D-da. Ready, go.
Leap up, scale down, D-da.
Now do it at tempo. Leap up, scale down, D-da. Ready, go. Now, how many repeated notes in fragment 2 before we get to D-da? How many notes? 5. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D-da. Sing that. Ready, go. Now let's put the 2 fragments together. Let's just call it a him and her just for the sake of simplicity and tradition. So it'll be leap up, scale down, D-da, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D-da. Ready, go. Okay, now let's look at the history of their relationship. Let's follow it out. Now at the beginning, they're very happy. Notice they all have their own individual profiles. They have something in common. There's 7 notes, and there are 2 notes at the end, but they're each individuals. One is a leap up, scale down, D-da. The other is 5 repeated notes in D-da. We start off, the relationship is fine, we're happy, we're in a major key, things are going nicely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D-da. Things are going well, we do it again. The first year of the relationship is quite a success. Raise your hand when you hear the first crack in the relationship. Uh-oh, first trouble. Now, like all couples, we have our troubles, couples develop, but they still keep their fundamental identity. He's still leap up, scale down, D-da. She's still 5 repeated notes and a D-da, even though it's now in a minor key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D-da. They keep shifting, but at least they keep their basic identity. They may leap different intervals, they may go down different scales, but he's still a leap up, scale down, D-da. She's still a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D-da. Yet another one lower, leap up, scale down, D-da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D-da. And then midlife crisis. He buys a Porsche, loses his fundamental identity,
and no longer can be a leap up, scale down, D-da. Unbelievably, embarrassedly, he becomes the worst of all things, a rising scale. So instead of leap up, scale down, he becomes a rising scale. And all that's left keeping them together is D-da, the children. All that's left is a rising scale to D-da. Now, she tries to go along with this. She gives up everything about her 5 repeated notes. She tries to become a rising scale to D-da as well. But you can hear in her difficult intervals how difficult this is for her. A rising scale to D-da. They try one more time to become a rising scale to D-da for the sake of the children, to become a rising scale to D-da together, but the children leave home, it's empty nest, D-da disappears, and instead of a rising scale to D-da, becomes a rising scale, they're gone. We're on the verge of disintegration, the marriage is about to dissolve, and then right on the verge of disintegration, they somehow find a way to go on, and 2 fantastic measures, couples therapy, save the marriage, and they find their way home, and we're back. That's the rise and fall of D-da. But all out of nothing more than that ordinary idea that you mocked. I could see you were mocking it. Here's that entire journey with him. And listen, you have to be on the edge of your seat. It all happens fast. We start off, they're happy together, leap up, scale down, D-da. Here we go. We're happy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D-da. Leap up, scale down, D-da. 1, 2, 3, 4. First trouble. Leap up, scale down, D-da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lower. Leap up, scale down, D-da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uh-oh. Leap up, scale down, D-da. 1, 2, 3. Midlife crisis. D-da. There's nothing left but D-da. There's nothing. It's gone. Uh-oh. Somehow, we're back. Fantastic. No, we're back where we started. The surprises and innovation continue to the last note of the movement. Now, the first half of the movement ended with a lyrical measure and then 3 short chords that sounded like this. 3 short chords. The same music comes back lower, and to end the piece, if it had copied it exactly, it would have sounded like this. A lyrical measure and 3 short chords. 3 short chords. Now we keep the lyrical measure, but instead of the 3 short chords, we get what my Jewish grandmother used to call a kvetch, a complaint. So here's a lyrical measure plus kvetch, like this. I hate my job, I hate my job. But when he repeats one more time, we keep that lyrical measure and we change that second measure a 3rd time. It's not 3 short chords, it's not a kvetch, but we float to the heavens this time in the second bar. 3 soft chords should have ended the movement nicely like this. But instead, a loud second chord surprises us and leads to the ending like this. 2 lower parts and 1 dotted rhythm. 1 dotted rhythm, bump-a-bum, the only bump-a-bum dotted rhythm in the entire movement, save to make the ending special. Innovation till the final note. Bravo, quickly. Okay, now I want to switch gears completely now and talk to you directly about leadership. You know, the idea that musicians might have anything to offer people in the business world really came initially as a surprise to me when, after conducting a concert at Lincoln Center, I was approached by a professor from the business school at Fordham who asked me if I'd be willing to talk to his class about the relationship between conducting and leadership. He said he was actually teaching a course about leadership, and he was struck while watching the concert by the way the relationship between a conductor and the orchestra seemed to embody so many of the basic principles of his course in a particularly clear way, and also how different conductors embodied so many different styles of leadership. Now, I had never really thought about conducting from that angle, but it sounded like an interesting idea. So we spent a month together, and we put together a little program with an appropriate academic title, Conducting as a Management Model, or something like that. I don't really remember what I said, but I remember one of the most interesting ideas he talked about was a distinction between what he called stakeholders and employees. So someone just quickly give me a common sense definition. What's a stakeholder? Anyone? Yeah, someone who has ownership, someone who has, from the term, a stake in it. What's the distinction between that and an employee? Say again? Yeah, an employee who works doesn't have a stake in it. And he said one of the most important jobs of any leader is to be able to turn employees into stakeholders. And so I want to see if you can do it. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you how to conduct. It doesn't matter if you know a note of music. In fact, it's more fun if you don't. But I'm going to teach you how to conduct the opening of this last movement. And I'm going to have you come up here, 3 volunteers, conduct the group, and see if we can turn employees into stakeholders. Now, you don't have to know anything about music to be able to do this. And I promise it will be fun. And you can put on your resume that you've now had a conducting gig. So the first thing you need to do conduct anything is to first learn the tune. So the tune is in 2 halves. First half is identical to the beginning of the second half. All that changes at the end. So let's learn the first half together. I'll do it first, and we can just sing this on lock. So it goes like this. La 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 la. Let's try that. I'll give you a ready go. Ready go. La 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 la. Good. One more time. That's pretty good. Ready go. La la la. Second half starts the same and ends differently. I'll do it first. La 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 la. Ready go. La 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 la. One more time. Ready, go. I'll play the whole thing together once, and then you do it afterwards. Here we go. Ready, go. Fantastic. Okay, good. Now, the basic conducting motion is just a down and up. Think of a reverse J or a fish hook. Let's try 4 of those without any rhythm. So have your baton hand up here. Make 4 of them. I'm looking for victims. Good. Okay. 3. One more. 4. Okay, good. Now, the hard thing is to really get those first 4 notes because they happen off the beat. And what you need to do is to make a down mark and then make a fast check mark in the air, like a ready, go, like that. Let's just do a ready, go again. Ready, go. Now I want you to sing the first 4 notes with it, just the words like this. Ready, go, ba-da-ga-bum. That'll help you practice. So you're just going to go, ready, go, ba-da-ga-bum. And you can say ready, go, ba-da-ga-bum yourself. And if you can't conduct yourself, we're in trouble. Here we go. Here we go. Ready, go, ba-da-ga-bum. Again. Ready, go, ba-da-ga-bum. One more time. Ready, go, ba-da-ga-bum. Good. Then you're going to add 7 up downs and a stop, like this. So it'll be ready, go, ba-da-ga 1, da-da-da, 2, da-da-da, 3, da-da-da, 4, ba-da-ga 5, ba-ba-ba, 6, ba-ba-ba, 7, and stop. 2 hands. Stop is very important. Okay, here we go. Let's try. Here we go. Ready, go, ba-da-ga 1, da-da-da, 2, da-da-da, 3, da-da-da, 4, ba-da-ga 5, ba-ba-ba, 6, ba-ba, 7, and stop. Okay, oh, I like that gesture. That was very good. Now, there's one other really fun thing. In the middle of the 4th measure, there's a little passage with the viola and the second violin to me that always sounds like Mozart laughing. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. In the 4th bar, it goes, ha, 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 ha. And I want you to point to that. You can point with your left hand to her. She was the star soloist. This is her second moment. So I want you to point in the 4th bar with her. So it's going to look like this. Ready, go, ba-da-ga 1, da-da-da, 2, da-da-da, 3, da-da-da, point, ba-da-ga ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, stop. Let's try the whole thing. Here we go. Ready, go, ba-da-ga 1, da-da-da, 2, da-da-da, 3, da-da-da, point, ba-da-ga ba-ba-ba-ba, 6, ba-ba, 7, and stop. One more time. Ready, go, ba-da-ga 1, da-da-da, pretty good, da-da, 3, da-da-da, point, good, 5, ba-ba-ba, 6, ba-ba, 7, and stop. Okay, now, I would like to have 3 people volunteer. Only one of them can know music. It would be fun to have 2 people who don't know anything about music. You don't need to have any more. Who do we have as a volunteer? This is the big chance. I don't want to have to call on you. Who do we have as a volunteer? It's really fun, I promise you. Oh, good, come on up. You're 1. Good. She's broken the ice. Who else? Let's have, good, come on up. Yep. Are you a musician?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do we have another person who's not a musician? Oh, good. Come on up. Good, good, good. Okay. All right. Come on up. Good. And you're not a musician?
No.
Good. There's stairs if you want there, or you can jump up depending on who you'd like to be. Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay, since you're first, okay, so you're going to come on here. Okay. So let's have a practice session ourselves before we do it with them. Okay, so here we go. So it's going to be like a ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, good. 5, 6, 7, and stop. Okay, good. Now the most important thing is look at her because she's the one who's going to save your life. Okay. And then no matter what happens at the end, bow like it was fantastic. Okay? So, and now you can say ready, go. You're allowed to do that, okay? And get that tempo in your body, and let's see her leadership style. Here we go. Fantastic job! Stay up there. By the way, I like the fact she didn't even need 2 hands. She says, I can point with 1 hand. I'm going to save this for something special. That's right. Really, really, really good. Now, I have to tell you the honest truth here. What I told them was, no matter what she does, make it perfect. And there's a big message there. You know, that's the truth of any company. If the staff is really good and they want it to work, it doesn't really matter what the CEO is doing. And the same is true with an orchestra. It doesn't really matter who the conductor is. It's the orchestra that actually makes it. And remember, this is our fantastic support staff. They did the health and fitness program. They can run 4 per beat. So, I mean, really, I told them to make it work. Now then, you're going to do it a second time, and I told them to actually follow whatever you actually really do. So let's see what happens. But you did great, by the way. Really, really good. And you're not a musician at all?
No.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, good.
Ready and go.
An important executive leadership thing is when things go bad, this is bad. You're supposed to smile like it all went well and you do the annual report and everything was glorious. Now, by the way, I thought she started pretty well. It was hard to know exactly where she started, but once it got started, it was pretty good. But then what happened after that?
It faded.
Yeah, it faded, and it got faster and faster and faster. Try one more time.
Okay.
One more time. But still, it's pretty good.
Ready and go.
Very, very good. Bravo. Excellent job. Excellent job. Okay, now, you're other musician, right?
Yeah.
So we'll leave you for last. You're not a musician. Okay, good. Come on up here. Okay. So you get your practice as well. So, ready? Oh, excellent. Oh, we've got a winner here. All right. All right. So, again, you can say ready, but most important thing is have that tempo. You know, I don't know if you've gone to concerts, but very often conductors walk out very fast to conduct because what they do is they have the tempo in their body off stage. And you want to start right where you've got that tempo in your body. So I almost always walk on stage with the tempo in my head. I'm thinking. So you get that tempo in your body and give it a try.
Okay. Ready, go.
Excellent job. Now remember, the first one was going to work out no matter what. Now, one other thing that's really important. Did you notice, who were you looking at when you started?
I don't know.
Right. Okay. Do one little thing which really makes a difference between recognizing who your employees. Look at them all before you start. Look at them all before you start and feel like we're in this together. Okay? I mean, there's such a difference. Say I'm going to conduct you. Ready? And you're going to go badakadam. Okay? Ready? Ready, go. Now let me look at you. Ready, go. Such a difference when you're actually with them, doing it with them. Okay? And now this one, unfortunately, they're going to play whatever you conduct. Okay. Or maybe it's fortunate. Go ahead. But really hear that. Ready, go. Badakadam. Go ahead.
Okay. Ready, go.
Now, that was some interesting things. The beginning was a disaster. One thing about great, you know, like when some CEO has one pet project that no matter what they're going to make right, for her, that's this. No matter how much of a disaster everything else was, this is in there. She knew that was, she's got funding for that project over there. That one is going to work out just great. The rest can be a disaster, but she's got that, you know, that one great project. Really excellent job, though. Really, really good. Now, Now, we've got a musician here, so there's high pressure, and the bar has to get a lot higher with this one. So this time, you don't have, you're a musician, right?
Yeah.
Is the music school here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you're not going to get any help from me.
No
help, no practice,
Oh,
no
great.
practice, and you don't get a first time through
Oh,
where it's good no matter what.
Oh,
so
great.
this time, right off from the start, you play exactly what he does for you. Excellent. Okay, very. Now, we're not done with you yet.
Oh,
okay.
great.
Now, there was lots of good stuff. First, tell me what you liked about it. Yeah, this beginning, this was really good. I mean, he looked in, he got everybody, he got most of Montclair community at the opening involved in this thing. He got everybody in, and he really looked at everybody. I thought it was great. Did you also notice that he continued with a kind of revolving neck like this, getting everybody in at every single moment? I was getting a little bit seasick just as I did that, by the way. But looking at everybody. But you had a good... Also, what else did you notice about his sort of basic attitude towards the employees? Yes? He was very into it. He was very intense. Now, by the way, that intensity wasn't necessarily the music's intensity. That was your intensity about the entire approach, and we understand that completely. But very good. Do it one more time. Now, also, what did you notice about the ending? What happened at the ending?
Oh, I feel like it got a bit sloppy.
Yeah, and what about the cutoff at the very end?
I feel like it was a little... Yeah.
Well, also,
Oh,
the thing that happened was they had already stopped.
Oh. That makes sense.
Yeah, it was jump, bum, bum, ba-da-dum. But that's okay, you were ready for it. Okay, one more time. But really, really good, by the way. By the way, this is real. I like this. Okay, go ahead. Okay, very good. And you fixed the cutoff.
Yeah.
Now, make sure you add in a little crescendo towards the end so that it's the big finish.
Okay.
Okay. Now crescendo. Bravo, take a bow. Well done, well done, well done. All right, so just one final thought before we finish off by hearing this first movement, and then just a short question and answer. Question and answer is the most fun of the whole thing, and you can ask them anything as well. But just one final thought. I've talked a lot about what I call listening for possibility, but I just want to talk really quickly about another kind of listening that I think is absolutely crucial when you're dealing with creativity, innovation, or collaboration of any kind, whether it's collaboration from a string quartet or a symphony orchestra to a company, a project team, a classroom, even a family or a marriage. Have any of you ever either seen or been part of an improv comedy troupe? Ever seen one or been part of it? You must not tell them? Okay. Well, one of the most basic principles of all improv theater, which I think of as the kind of listening, is an idea called yes and. And the idea of yes and listening is that in any kind of improvisation that you do, whatever your partner suggests, it could be a line of dialogue, it could be a gesture, it could be a prop. Whatever your partner suggests, you have to yes and it, which means you have to say yes to it and build on it. So, for example, if I were starting a little improvisation with you, and I started the improvisation and I said, "Brr, it's cold in here." Someone yes and that for me. "Brr, it's cold in here." Yeah.
No, we're in Antarctica.
Yeah, well, of course, we're in Antarctica. Now, someone yes and, of course, we're in Antarctica. Someone say yes and build.
Yes, and there's penguins here too.
Yes, and there's penguins here, and somebody else yes and that.
I got one as a pet.
And yes and that. We stuck. Yeah, go ahead. Good. All right. So you get the idea of yes and. What you can't say if I go, "Brr, it's cold in here," is "No, it's not." That's called blocking, and then the entire improvisation would end. Now, I cannot stress how important this single, seemingly simple principle is. Though an orchestra might hate their conductor, though a string quartet might hate each other until the moment they walk out on stage and have violent disagreements on how to interpret a piece of music, at the moment of performance, everyone has to say yes to whatever is occurring, or else no magic will ever occur. If the conductor starts the piece too fast, or if the first violinist starts the quartet too loudly, the orchestra or the quartet must say yes to the tempo and the dynamics and adjust. Now, I mean, you can disagree later. You can fire the conductor, you can quit the string quartet, but you must say yes,
while the music is going on. And I think that this kind of yes and listening is actually the key to collaboration everywhere. If someone makes a suggestion from your company, from your staff, from your project team, from your classroom, from your family, from your marriage, if someone makes a suggestion, your first hearing should be yes and. You should come to the suggestion from yes, as if the idea would be correct, helpful, and useful, as if, even better, that it was the perfect thing to hear, that it would solve the entire problem in a single sentence. 10 seconds later, you can reject the idea completely. But if you have fully committed to the possibility, if you have truly tried the idea on, most of us listen to suggestions through the filter of I agree or I disagree, already thinking of our response halfway through the suggestion. Consider, rather than agreeing or disagreeing, simply trying the idea on. Seeing what would it look like if we did things that way, if the world looked that way or the suggestion happened that way. 10 seconds later, you can reject the idea. But if you have fully committed to it, fully tried it on, the other person will feel heard and the relationship can move forward. Plus, you will have opened yourself up to another idea. You will have seen the world or that issue from another point of view. You will have changed. One of the biggest barriers to innovation in the arts, and this is really true everywhere, one of the biggest barriers to innovation is that in order to change, and I know this sounds ridiculously simple, but that in order to change, you have to actually want to. In my experience, everyone would say, I believe in risk and change and innovation. But in my experience, most people would love to change just as long as they didn't have to do anything different. But I do not believe that you can create change in any kind of relationship, in a company, a classroom, a relationship, a family, or a marriage. I do not believe that you can create change in any relationship unless you yourself are first willing to change. And change is not only a question of what we want to do, it's first and foremost a question of who we want to be. What we decide to do as a CEO or a leader or a teacher or a project manager or a partner or a spouse to be effective has to grow fluidly out of who we first decide to be. And so I just want to leave you before we finish with Mozart in the Q&A with one final brilliant quote that has really been useful to me as I tried to figure out who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do throughout my career, from the brilliant writer on mythology, Joseph Campbell. And he says, and this has never been more meaningful than in this moment or this time of the pandemic. He says, you must be willing to let go of the life you've planned in order to have the life that's waiting for you. You must be willing to let go of the life you've planned in order to have the life that's waiting for you. Possibilities are everywhere. All you have to do is listen. And now we're going to do our Mozart, and I'm going to give you my favorite leadership lesson within the first 5 seconds of this piece. And afterwards, you can tell me what the leadership lesson is. Okay, so here's the first movement of Eine kleine Nachtmusik.
time. All right, this is a chance of a lifetime to ask anything you like, and you'll be heard on live stream. Who has a question or comment or any kind of thought whatsoever? Yeah.
I have a question. Obviously, what made you choose that conducting style? Like, it's super expressive, but also, like, if you left, it wouldn't change a thing about the sound. What made you choose that instead of, like, just using your arms and being more, you know?
Okay, his question was, what made me choose that particular kind of conducting style? Normally, when I do this program, I do it with a full symphony orchestra on the stage. And really, the truth is, as you could hear, and I hope that the lesson was clear, by walking away at the top of that movement, the most important thing is hire good people. And once you hire good people, get out of the way. In a weird way, though, for the sake of the program, there were things that I had to do to conduct just to make some of the principles. I would really never conduct this. There are only 5 players, and I wouldn't conduct a group of 5. But I had to do it for this. So it's kind of finding a style that's sort of keeping out of the way and not really getting in the way because you're not really needed there, but just pointing out a little thing here, bringing out a little thing there. So it's a kind of conducting style that you would never choose except in a situation here where you shouldn't be conducting in the first place. So, yeah, normally with 5 players, there wouldn't be a conductor like this. And in fact, they're so happy not to have a conductor. And in fact, if you ever try to conduct a group with 5 people, they will hate you. Because they basically hate conductors anyway. But there they have a legitimate gripe. So, yeah, it's just a weird situation to actually conduct these people because they certainly don't need a conductor. Yeah. Anyone else?
Didn't you say, like, I trust what you're doing, I approve of it, and you walk away?
Yes. Yeah, I said, basically what I said is, I hired you, I believe in you, I think you don't need me, show me what you can do. And that's really important, actually, as a leader, is to actually have trust in the people and say, show me what you can actually do. I was doing a class this morning just for teachers of elementary school, and we were putting together this piece, just an improv piece, and there's such a temptation to sort of make it happen yourself. You know, I can control everything, I can macromanage everything, but at a certain point, you have to step back and let them figure it out. And in figuring it out, not only do they often come up with a solution that's better than the one that you would come up with, but then they become a group themselves. You know, if you're always a leader, they're always a follower. So actually, even when conducting a big orchestra, there's a real danger to be a micromanager. And part of it is to actually make sure that they have a kind of listening themselves. You know, I've been very fortunate to conduct some of the world's greatest orchestras, you know, the Cleveland Orchestra, you know, Chicago Symphony, Philadelphia Orchestra. And people often think that the best orchestras are the ones that have the best players. But really what they have is the best listeners. You know, when you conduct a Cleveland Orchestra, everyone on one side of the stage is completely aware of what's going on the other side of the stage, which is why the Cleveland Orchestra sounds great no matter who's conducting, because really they're the ones who make it be together. And in fact, if you're trying to make it be together, they will always be followers, and you'll never find out who they are. So it's a real trick to sort of let go enough. Well, you have to figure out each situation, what's needed and what's not needed. But if you hire good people, then your job is to get out of the way and let them do what they're actually been hired for. So that's something you have to figure out. But early on in my conducting career, I tried to micromanage a lot of things. And then when you get really good orchestras like that, it's absolutely not needed. Good question. Yeah, sure.
I have a question for the string players.
Good.
So you've been working on this piece, I know, rehearsing it and whatnot. After working with Rob yesterday for this rehearsal for today, did you feel completely differently about this piece of music?
Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely.
I paid them for that answer. Do you want to actually speak to what changed for you, or any kind of different thoughts you had?
Well, I, for one, will never play another wedding in quite the same way. But I'm very glad to have done this, and absolutely, there's things that I never realized about this. And it informs, like Mr. Kapilow was mentioning earlier, his operas, and it just takes you into the world of Mozart so much more. Yeah.
They did great, by the way. Didn't you think they were amazing? And our conductors were good, too. Anything else? Any other thoughts, comments, questions? It's a chance for a lifetime. Anyone else? Going once?
Are you teaching at the university?
No, I'm just a guest here as part of this residency just this week. No, I'm just a visitor. Yeah, just a visitor. Anyone else? Yep, go ahead, sure.
I just want to let everyone know that tomorrow night at 7:30, Rob is leading a very wonderful What Makes It Great program here at Montclair. It'll be in the other hall in Cali School of Music.
And that's Dvorak.
Oh yeah, Dvorak American Quartet. It's a whole evening taking apart one of the great pieces of chamber music, Dvorak's American String Quartet, tomorrow night at 7:30, right? Right.
There's no charge. You have to, I think, make a reservation, but there's no charge. So hope to see you all there.
Yeah, you may be called up to conduct. No. Yes, I saw a hand up here.
Some of the most famous conductors were absolute tyrants.
Yes.
How do you reconcile that?
Yes. First, yes, the previous generation, people like Toscanini and Fritz Reiner, were absolute tyrants. And you can, and it's the same thing with the staff, you can produce a result out of fear, and it does work for a short while, but it produces a particular kind of result. When you listen to those results, you hear the kind of tension, in those orchestras, and what you also find is it has devastating effect on the morale of those orchestras. I mean, just imagine knowing that you could be fired any day by making one mistake on something you typed. That's what it was like to be in an orchestra, Fritz Reiner. So you can produce results out of fear. We all know that in many situations. You can terrorize employees and get a result, but you can't get a result with employees having a life, that's a fulfilling life. And what you get is, massive defections, massive unhappiness, massive injury on the part of them. No one cared at that time. But nowadays they do. So I think one of the benefits now of how we are, you can't really be that way anymore. And I think that's really a blessing. But yes, you can get, we've all seen it. As a parent or anything else, you can get a result out of a child from pure fear, but then that's the child who you've raised. And then you have to decide, remember what I said? I love this question, by the way. Remember I said it's really important to decide from what you want to do. First decide who do you want to be. And so as a conductor, you have to decide, who do I want to be? And if that's who I want to be, then you can do that kind of approach. But I decided early on that was not who I wanted to be, and that's not the kind of approach. One of the most powerful conducting gestures is you're playing along, and you're just going like this. And you're just listening to hear what they actually come up with themselves. So I think that though those orchestra results were something, they didn't bring out the best in what those orchestras had, and it was devastating for those employees. And so you have to decide what you want to do, but from first, who you want to be. And Stokowski and Toscanini are not who I would want to be. And I certainly wouldn't want to be the people in that orchestra, even though the result was great. The slaves did build the tombs in Egypt, but is that who you want to be? But it's a great point. Anyone else? Going once? In that case, I just want to first of all really thank Tony and everyone who put this together. I know it's really hard to do a first thing when it's not really a scheduled event and it's a whole bunch of different schools, and I really want to congratulate them on trying in this first residency to put something together interdisciplinarily wise. I want to really thank these fantastic musicians who came together to do this program, and thank you to you. And thank you all for being adventurous to come. And were you the person who said you were dragged here, or you hated classical music?
I don't hate classical music.
Oh.
I was just here for a major exploration thing for my new students.
Okay, well, good. Well, you're now a conductor, so thank you all for being here. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Thank you. Well done. Very good.